Coming up, a new series of Rough Science. Communication is the theme at 2:30, testing sound waves. Then at 3, try on a spacesuit before dodging meteors at 3:30. We'll head into the epicentre of an earthquake at 4 and make rockets at 4:30. So, plenty ahead, and it's introduced by Kate Humble.
Welcome to the new series of Rough Science. We're in the United States, and this is one of the hottest deserts on Earth. We are just next door to Death Valley. It's going to be the ultimate test for our scientists.
They don't know it yet, but this series is going to be all about space exploration. Over the next 6 weeks, our rough scientists are going to have to solve a series of challenges all about space, using nothing more than simple tools, some basic kit, and a whole heap of ingenuity. Mission control for the next 6 weeks is an old abandoned silver mine. It's going to be rough science on the final frontier. Our 5 scientists are Kathy Sykes, an irrepressible physicist who thrives in the face of adversity. Ian Stewart's our first rough science geologist and an eternal optimist. Ellen Macaulay is an intrepid botanist from Missouri with a never-say-die attitude. Mike Bullivant's our creative chemist who makes magic with everyday items. Jonathan Hare is a physicist, inventor, artist, a true Renaissance man. And then there's me, Kate Humble, here to lend a hand. Together, we are Rough Science.
This is going to be base camp for the next 6 weeks. It's an old abandoned mine. This is our workshop. Let's go and have a look at it.
This is it. This is your workshop. It's great, isn't it? Now, there is electricity in here, and basically you can use anything you like. So just go and explore.
All of it?
All of it. Go and take a look. So what do you think? Like it?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we've got to get down to business now. This area, as you've seen, is pretty alien and inhospitable, but it has given us the inspiration for this series, which is going to be all about space.
Oh, wow.
And there's a reason for that, because astronauts do come here to prepare for their missions, and NASA test all their latest kit here. And it's also going to be where we find out whether you can take on the might of NASA in their own backyard. So this week's challenges are all going to be based around space exploration. So, Jonathan, we'd like you to come up with a rough science rover. Not a dog. Well, if it barks, that's great. But basically, what we need is a remote-controlled vehicle that can perhaps get into sort of the trickier areas that we would find a little hard, OK? OK. So that's for you. And Ellen and Ian, one thing that everybody looks for in space is water, or evidence of water. We know it's the main ingredient of life. So what we'd like to do is for you to use your botanical and geological knowledge to try and find water.
In the desert?
In possibly one of the driest places on Earth, yes.
Let's hope it rains.
And that water that you find, Kathy and Mike, it'll be down to you to purify it so that it's good enough to drink, because frankly, in this heat, I think we're all going to need it.
And then we have to drink it?
Yes. So you have to do it right. You've got 3 days, as usual. You know that you can use everything in here. You've got the outlying area you can use, and of course, what's in the magic trunk. As well as all the tools in the workshop, the trunk has a selection of extra things which the scientists may or may not find useful with this week's space challenges.
Oh, we could use that.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan's rover, Ian and Ellen's hunt for water, and Kathy and Mike's water purification.
Oh, tin foil.
Yes.
So, Jonathan, a rover in 3 days. Is this a tough call?
It's a very big challenge. It's a really nice challenge.
Now, I have a little picture in my head of what a rover is. You know, that it is sort of send something off to do the exploring for you. But is that I mean, what is one?
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, you're going to another planet. You don't want to send people because it's too dangerous. You want to send a machine, which when it lands on the planet, can go around and actually look to see what's there.
So it's doing the exploration for you.
Absolutely.
You're not putting other people at risk. We can't send Jonathan's rover to Mars to test it out, but NASA used the desert as a stand-in, so we're going to do the same. On day 3, the rover will face its ultimate challenge, here, when we subject it to a NASA-style experiment. Ellen and Ian's mission is to search for water in the desert. Our base is on the edge of Death Valley. It's one of the driest places on Earth. I think they're going to have their work cut out. I mean, given that it feels like about 120 degrees already, how are you going to find water?
Well, I think the landscape's going to give us some signs of where water is, and that's what I'm hunting for.
What sort of things? What sort of signs?
Well, it looks like some old river channels and things like that. Go hunting in there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be looking for plants. Plants can't grow without water. So plants, in particular plants, use more water, so the water table's got to be close to the surface.
Put your lives on the line here. How much do you think you're going to find?
Oh, I'm going for this. Look what we've got. This is positive.
I think we're in a desert and we're a little bit more realistic.
Assuming they find some water, Mike and Kathy have to devise a rough science way of purifying it so it's safe for drinking.
Well, I think it's going to be really important to boil the water for at least 10 minutes because that'll get rid of all the biological stuff in there. So
Yeah.
any kind of bugs we'll get rid of. So I want to capture the sun's energy, make a solar cooker, and boil it like that. But we'll still have some junk left in there, won't we?
Yeah, as well as the biological material. There are contaminants like pesticides, there are metals in there, there could be arsenic in there, you know, toxic.
Yeah.
Metal ions. But I've got a couple of ideas which we'll be working on for filtering all of those out.
Okay, it has got to work because at the end of this, it's not just going to be you two having a little sip of water and saying, oh yes, Kate, it's delicious. We are going to be doing a blind taste test.
No way!
With drinking water. So, you know, there's no cheating involved. So we've made things a little harder. As well as cleaning the water, they have to make it taste nice as well. But first we need some water from this parched desert. There are hundreds of square miles to cover, and we haven't given them a map.
Is it this way?
Yeah, I'm going to have a wee look over here.
They're going to look for erosion features in the landscape, which suggest the presence of water.
There's things like this. It's kind of evidence of past running water that NASA used to try and look for water in places like Mars.
But is it getting them any closer to finding water in the desert? Back at base, Mike is starting work on a filter to remove impurities from the water. Ooh, have you built this?
Yep, that's my oven.
I can't leave you alone for 2 minutes.
We're going to put the wood in.
Well, you're going to put the wood in here?
Yeah, because what we're going to make is a thing called activated charcoal. If you look at charcoal, a charcoal briquette, it's got lots of pores in it and cavities.
Yeah.
But activated charcoal has got even more pores and cavities in it. And that's what we filter the stuff through. It takes the impurities out.
So the wood is burnt for several hours with a restricted air supply. Activation comes later. Kathy's working on stage 2 of water purification. She's convinced all she needs is the power of the sun to boil the water.
That's what I want to do for the solar cooker.
Okay.
Just kind of catch the light.
Yeah.
Use this really nice reflective surface from the tin foil, and then focus it into a point here. And I mean, ideally, this should be what you call a parabola, and that will
Right.
focus it to one point. But if I actually do it to that kind of shape,
Yeah.
then it will. Do you want to just hold that there?
Yep.
Then it will actually heat the whole of that jar.
Jonathan's hard at work making his rover, which so far looks suspiciously like a go-kart. So just the motor and the steering to sort out then? Time for me to catch up with the water searchers. We're standing under a blistering sun in a very, very, very dry place. Why?
Because there's evidence of running water here. And what we've got is a series of river channel. So we've had a flash flood or something in the mountains. The rain's falling here and it's swept through here. So I think the obvious thing is to see if we can find where the geology has trapped some of the water.
You're hoping that it might be stuck in porous rock or...
Yeah, or in the sediment, sitting just in the top part of the sediment.
So you dig down and hopefully there'll be a lovely
Ellen
crystal...
will dig, obviously.
Ian and Ellen have a lead. They hope that somewhere along the channel, water will have been trapped close to the surface. By the time I get back to the mine, Jonathan's rover is alive and kicking. Hey! Well, one wheel's going round. That's a good start.
So I've taken normal electric drills, you know, sort of 12-volt electric drills, and modified them. So
Jonathan them, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. So these are the front wheels, and they're both driven.
What's the next stage? What have you got to do with it now?
Okay, so it's powered by these two motors. Now, if you speed up one wheel with respect to the other, it will turn.
Of course. So the rover has motors and steering, but to meet its ultimate challenge, a NASA-style experiment in the desert, it's going to need a remote control system. Outside, Mike's ready for the next stage in his water filter plan, turning the charcoal he's been making into activated charcoal. That really does look like charcoal.
Now, I've taken the lid off.
Yeah.
And air is getting in there.
Yeah.
When I let air in, that will just flash into the pores, and that would dramatically increase the pore size and the number of pores.
And is that basically the activation process?
Yeah. A little bit of activated charcoal, like this, has a massive surface area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably about 2 tennis courts.
No.
It's full of pores. That's the property we're going to use to filter out stuff from the water.
NASA use activated charcoal to filter water on the space shuttle. As well as removing impurities, it also makes water taste good. But at the end of the day, Ian and Ellen still haven't found any water at all. And Kathy's hit a snag with her solar cooker. Even though this is one of the hottest places on Earth, the sun's gone in. John? Okay.
So if I put that on the speaker and press a note, the A light comes on.
Right.
Press another one of the other lights comes on. And that light will send a signal to the switches, which will control the motors.
So he's going to play a tune to tell the rover what to do. Now that's what I call rough science. So has Mike's filter of activated charcoal done its job with the coloured dyes? Mike, am I right in thinking that this is clear water? And that most definitely isn't.
It started out as that, and it's ended up as that. So I'm happy that the coloured contaminants in that solution have been filtered out.
It's working.
Yep.
So you ready for the real stuff?
Bring 'em on, come on.
The filter might be ready, but unfortunately, Ian and Ellen aren't. They still haven't got any water.
Ooh, that's dry. You know something? Look at this. It's wet. It's the first top 6 to 8 inches that are wet.
Wherever they dig, it seems that all the moisture is trapped in a thin layer near the surface. Their hoped-for bonanza has failed to materialise. Time for some quick thinking.
Okay, you know what we could do here, though? This Earth is obviously damp. We could build a solar still.
Okay.
Now, what that will take is putting plastic on top. The sun will heat up the air in there, which will evaporate the water out of the soil. It'll then condense on the plastic, roll down into our collection pot, and I think we'll get a decent amount of water that way.
The plastic creates a greenhouse effect, so the water in the soil evaporates and then condenses on the underside of the plastic.
I hope this works. What we want to do is put a stone right in the middle, so it's right above the collection jar.
So we make it like a funnel-shaped polythene thing that runs down and just strips off the point.
Right, into the tub in the middle, and that's what we're collecting.
Okay.
And Ellen has one more trick up her sleeve. She's decided to wrap plastic sheet around a tree.
I never thought I'd be bagging a tree, I must confess.
She's hoping to use the same principle as the solar still to trap water that evaporates from the tree's leaves. It's called transpiration.
So what we're going to look for in the morning is a little puddle of water at this end.
So will I get my bucket filled tomorrow then?
I expect a good tablespoon.
Excellent.
It's the last throw of the dice for the water hunters. Day 3 and the moment of truth.
Okay, this is going to be, here, hold on. Okay. This is going to be the amount of water this tree transpired overnight. Look,
Wow.
look, 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 look.
Wow!
This is pretty good for overnight.
Fantastic. So that is literally, is this sort of like tree sweat kind of thing?
Yeah, sort of.
Well, that's not bad. I don't think I'd like to drink it.
Well, that's Kathy and Mike.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
make it
their
drinkable.
business. Okay, let's go and see how Ian's getting along. The solar stills have also produced some water, but not that much. And even though this water has evaporated and therefore should be pure, it still looks pretty mucky. Perhaps the plastic wasn't very clean. So all we've got to give Kathy and Mike for purification is 2 small jars of water. One from the tree, one from the solar still. But then on the drive back, Ian spots something.
Stop. Hold on.
What?
Do you see over there? You see that line of humps that's vegetated? I think that's a fault under there. And I think what's happening is that the water's coming up in the fault, it's getting vegetated, and the sand is probably getting stuck against that. So if it's right, then we can have a look at there. I don't know.
So are you saying that if we dig around those humps,
Yeah,
we're going to get water?
well, that's a chance. I don't know.
Ian thinks that a geological fault has blocked the movement of water deep underground. This has forced it to the surface, creating a spring. It's his last chance to fill up his bucket.
That's wet. That's wet sand.
Yeah, it's not water though.
Yeah, but this is really quite permeable sand, so the water can get through between the sand grains. So if we're low enough...
Oh no, hang on. Okay, no, look, it's bubbling. It is bubbling down there.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's coming.
At last, Ian has his triumph.
After all that work yesterday, he makes it look so easy.
Look at that. Beautiful. I'm always tempted to drink it right now.
Now it's all down to the water purifiers. Mike's water filter seems to be working, so everything depends on Kathy's solar cooker. We have to boil that water to make it safe for the blind tasting session. Yesterday, she got to 60 degrees, 40 degrees short of boiling. Time to get the thermometer out again.
This plastic bag is nice and full of air, so it's got that greenhouse effect, so it's keeping the heat in.
Yeah.
It's almost been in the midday sun for quite a while now.
Okay.
So, and we've been moving it round just to make sure it's tracking the sun.
All right.
So, you ready to take the temperature?
I'm ready to take
You've got to do
temperature.
it really quickly.
Yeah.
It's boiling! It is boiling! It's bubbling!
I don't believe it's gone straight up to 90, 93, 94.5, 95.3, 95.8, 96.1. Yes! There was definitely
And still
bubbles in the
bubbles.
bottom of that.
Yes!
Oh.
Good. I am so relieved.
And Jonathan is putting the finishing touches to his Mars rover with its ambitious sound control system. He's going to try and use walkie-talkies to transmit his musical tones to the rover. But does it work?
So we've got 4 notes, makes the rover go forward.
Yeah.
The second one makes it go forward and go left. The third one makes it go forward and go right. And the last one makes it go backwards.
Genius.
So we've got all the controls, hopefully, to make it move.
And there's lots of clicking and things going on. What's that?
Well, of course, it's sensitive to sound,
Right.
but it's actually picking up those tones in our voice and clicking away.
Okay, should we give it a go?
Yeah, I think we ought to.
Oh my God, that's amazing! The rover is working. Well, sort of. But will it be able to cope with the precision navigation needed to fulfill its ultimate challenge, the NASA-style experiment in the desert? It's almost time for the blind tasting session. We have 3 samples of water. one from Ellen's tree, one from the solar still, and one from Ian's rather mucky spring. Each sample is filtered and boiled separately. If Kathy and Mike have succeeded, this should make the 3 samples indistinguishable from a 4th sample, pure drinking water. Okay, who's thirsty?
Not me.
No way. So we're going to do a blind taste test. And to know that you two have been an unqualified success, you need to fool our guinea pig. If that guinea pig doesn't pick out the drinking water, you've done well. Now, the guinea pig's name is Ian.
Oh, no.
See you in court.
Thanks, guys. I'm so choked up here.
Okay, I'm going to put a glass in your
You're not
hand.
going to disappear off, aren't you?
This is sample A.
Okay.
There's the glass.
Okay. It's quite warm. It's got a little taste, but that's okay. That's drinkable.
This is sample B.
Okay.
Spit! Just spit!
No, that's fine. But let's not have another one of that.
Okay. Sample C coming up.
That was salty, that one. Okay, that's like the first one actually.
Okay, so
It's
between
fine.
A and C at the moment. And the final one. There we go. This is sample D.
That's not so nice.
Okay,
That's
so
not so
between
nice.
A and C, do you want to have a retaste?
Yeah, please.
After one final comparison, Ian makes his choice.
Okay, I'm going to go with A.
Right, are we ready? Sample A. Solar still.
Oh, that's
And sample C was indeed the drinking water. Which leaves Jonathan with the final challenge of the day. No pressure.
I'm feeling a bit pressure, actually.
NASA tests their Mars rovers in Death Valley, so we're going to replicate one of their tests in the most Martian-looking piece of desert we can find. It's going to be the ultimate test for our rough science rover. Well, here it is, the finished rover, with one added little detail. This is a camera mounted on here, and this is going to work like the rover's eye, so that Jonathan is going to be able to see what the rover is seeing. Now, what it's going to do is follow this course down here, keeping the orange tape to its right-hand side. This is exactly what NASA would do when they're testing one of their rovers. And one of the things that rovers are used for is obviously looking for things. So, what does every self-respecting space mission want to find? Water. So it's going to have to find that. Obviously, a little different from the water it would find on Mars, but it is its maiden voyage, so we're going to give him a fighting chance. And life. If he doesn't spot that, frankly, he's got a problem. So he's got water to find, life. He comes up here at a furious pace, breaks through the finishing line, and balloons fly off into the sky. Mission accomplished, in theory. So the team gather at Mission Control, just over the hill and out of sight of the rover. They'll be following its progress on a monitor as Jonathan attempts to control it with musical tones sent by walkie-talkie.
Okay, we go forward. Can you see anything? Is that... Oh, okay.
Wait,
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's moving!
Which way, though, people? I don't know which way to go.
There's something there. Look.
Okay. Here we go. Look at this.
A flag!
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful! That's moving. Beautiful. Oh, what's that?
Is it water?
So,
Jaffa
the
water.
rover has found water! Yay!
It's plants.
It's plants. Oh, we're heading in.
No, that is not the point. You're not supposed to destroy the life. You're supposed to just look at it.
It's just a load of balloons dancing around.
Don't you think that could give you a hint? Balloons, a flag.
Finish line.
Again.
Finishing line! We're nearly there! Come on, Jonathan!
Come on.
Yeah! Come on! Almost there!
That's all for this week's Rough Science. Join us next time for more challenges. Next time, Jonathan and Kathy see the light with a space-age walkie-talkie. Mike and Ellen turn their world upside down to take on a $2 million NASA challenge, and Ian attempts to communicate with aliens. For information about a teacher's resource pack and details of all Open University programmes, call 0870 900 0314 or log on to www.open2.net.
More Rough Science now on BBC Learning Zone, getting to grips with communication.
Death Valley in the United States. It's one of the hottest and most hostile places on Earth. Here, our team of 5 scientists face their ultimate test. A series of challenges all about space exploration. NASA used this harsh desert terrain to test their latest kit, so it's the perfect place to see if our team can take on the might of NASA in their own backyard. It's Rough Science on the final frontier. Our 5 scientists are Kathy Sykes, an irrepressible physicist who thrives in the face of adversity. Ian Stewart's our first Rough Science geologist and an eternal optimist. Ellen Macaulay is an intrepid botanist from Missouri with a never-say-die attitude. Mike Bullivant's our creative chemist who makes magic with everyday items. Jonathan Hare is a physicist, inventor, artist, a true Renaissance man. And then there's me, Kate Humble, here to lend a hand. Together, we are Rough Science. Mission Control is an abandoned silver mine on the edge of Death Valley. Here the scientists have basic kit and simple tools. Ingenuity they supply themselves. Now your next set of challenges is going to be all about communication, a vital part of any space mission, I think you'll agree. Ellen and Mike, over £1 million and 2 years was spent developing a space pen. A pen that could work in zero gravity. We're not going to give you any money at all and just 3 days to do exactly the same thing.
Thank you.
Now, Kathy and Jonathan, sound waves don't travel in space, but we need some sort of communication device, a kind of Rough Science walkie-talkie that doesn't rely purely on sound to relay a message. Okay. So that's your challenge. And Ian, when NASA sent up their deep space probe at Pioneer, it had a plaque on it with information about the human race for any aliens that might one day come across it. Could you design a plaque with information about the Rough Science team for any aliens that might be interested in that? Okay? You've got 3 days, all the stuff around here and in the workshop, of course, and what is in the magic trunk. So, Mike and Ellen have to make a pen that will defy gravity. Kathy and Jonathan have to find a way of sending a message through the emptiness of space, and Ian has to make a plaque that could communicate with aliens. Should be an interesting 3 days. What are you going to do? How are you going to make this work?
We got loads of light here, so I think we can use that light energy and code a voice onto it and send a signal that way.
So, hang on a second. Hang on a second. You are going to somehow put a voice, so sound waves, mixed in with light waves, and then it'll travel.
Well, that's right. The light is going to travel anyway, and we're going to use that light bouncing between 2 people and catch the message of the sound on the light to get from A to B.
It sounds extraordinary, but Kathy and Jonathan are going to try and make sound travel on a sunbeam. That'll get round the problem that sound waves can't travel in the vacuum of space.
Mike and Ellen's pen will have to work under simulated space conditions, and that means working without the help of gravity.
The way a pen works on Earth is that we depend on gravity to pull the ink down so it comes out the nib. When you're in space, there are no forces making the ink come down, so it basically stays where it is.
It just stays in the barrel of the pen and doesn't go out either way.
So we've got to devise a means of delivering ink to that ball, if we're thinking of a ballpoint pen, that doesn't depend on gravity.
Now, we can't take whatever pen they come up with into space to check it out, but we can still see if it would work in zero gravity. If it can write upside down, it'll prove it isn't using gravity to keep the ink flowing. Gravity or no gravity, they're going to need ink, so Ellen's headed for the hills in search of plant dyes. Mike's staying behind, trying to cram the 2 years it took to design NASA's space pen into 3 days. Meanwhile, Ian's also in search of inspiration. He's got to design a plaque that will tell any aliens out there something about the rough science team. But I think the heat has got to him already.
So what on earth am I going to put on this plaque? I mean, when Pioneer 10 went up, it carried a plaque on a man, a woman, and a picture of the solar system with Earth in it to show alien life what the Earth was all about. We need something like that. Oh, I don't know. I need more inspiration.
Ellen's got 30,000 square miles of hills and desert to explore. There's about 1,500 plant species out there, but only a few of them will do the job.
The goal is to find some plants that give ink, or basically when you crush them or boil them, you'll get color. The dream plant would be inkweed. I don't know if we're going to get that lucky. I know the habitats these plants should be in, but that doesn't mean we can find the individual plants.
Back at base, Mike's knocked up his first design. He doesn't need 2 years, give him a couple of hours.
I've made a pen.
That's incredible.
Yeah, there's no dye in there. I've been using water because Ellen isn't back with the dyes yet.
Yeah.
But what you can see is a wick.
Yeah.
And when the dye goes in here,
yeah,
and capillary action forces the ink up to this.
What's
and
capillary
it works
action?
Let me show you. Let's have this bit of tissue in here. There's water in that ball.
Yeah.
You watch when you drop the tissue in, the water rises up.
Oh, okay, so it's sort of working its way up the fibres.
Yeah, the fibres are like little tubes. Because the water adheres to the side of the tube, there's an upward force, and that's capillary action. It's
and how is it affected by gravity or lack of it?
It can overcome gravity.
We'll never know if capillary action is the answer unless Ellen can find a plant to make ink. It is a massive desert.
Well, this plant would have potential for like a yellow-brown dye. It's a member of the rose family. Too bad it's mostly dead. Okay, we're set now. This is inkweed. The Native Americans used to use it to dye their hair black and also to dye baskets. And what's even better, it's in flour, which means all the chemicals and all the juices are flowing. It smells really bad. And it tastes salty. Yeah, this is the right plant.
Ian's finally got some inspiration for the design on his plaque, and the local geology has also given him an idea about how to make it.
Well, I thought I'd be clever. I thought I'd make it out of plaster of Paris, which is just like a mud that's soft and then you can mould it, and then it goes hard. It's like rock. And the great thing is, you make plaster of Paris out of gypsum.
I suppose that means we're going to be looking for some gypsum. And the design he's dreamt up? Well, he's not telling. Meanwhile, Kathy has found a way of turning sound waves into light waves, the essential first step of the communication device.
Imagine we're going to speak in there, so we're going to set up the sound wave here at this end.
Yeah.
And that's going to make the membrane vibrate, and we're going to shine a light at the membrane, and that's going to introduce a little wiggle into the light.
Okay.
That when we reflect it back, is going to contain that wiggle. And if we can unwrap the wiggle at the other end, then we get the sound back again.
Unwrapping wiggles sounds complicated.
Unwrapping Jonathan's doing that part.
Okay. Jonathan's part of the challenge is working out a way of receiving the wiggling light and turning that back into a voice. He thinks he's found the answer inside the radio that was in the trunk. It's called a transistor.
What we got here is a transistor. Now, a transistor is used for amplifying signals.
Okay.
But if you lob off the top of the container, it's actually sensitive to light.
Okay.
So if we go outside, I can show you. If you hold that,
Yeah.
and I wire this up. At the moment, you see we've got a big reading on the meter.
Oh, yes.
Now, if you put your hand in front of it and block the sunlight, it drops right down
Oh,
again.
yes.
And if you wiggle your hand,
Yeah.
you'll see the meter will wiggle as well.
That's amazing. So that's basically what the voice will do to the light. It will make it wiggle, so that when it hits that, it's also wiggling.
And it will produce a tiny copy of Kathy's voice in terms of electricity, which we can amplify, send to the speaker, which will convert it back into a sound.
Sound into light and back to sound. Amazing! But can they do it? Always one for experimenting, Mike's come up with another possible pen.
The second pen that I've designed depends upon, it's a pressure system. There's a marble in there, so it's like a ballpoint pen. We put a spring in there like that.
Yeah.
A few more marbles then, just for effect. And what I'm going to do is put a balloon in there.
Yeah.
And blow the balloon up.
Yeah.
Tie a knot in the balloon so the balloon will be inflated. And every time I squeeze the inflated balloon, it will force ink. The ink is inside
So the ink,
there.
you've put the ink inside.
Yeah, the ink inside, and it'll be forced onto that ball.
Right.
But this is a work in progress because I think what's going to happen is the ink is just going to come between the. It's not very tight.
It's not very
fit.
tight, yeah.
But when I inflate that balloon, it may be a better fit and it may work.
Jonathan, we brought you a whole drum kit. Kathy's tinfoil drum kit is actually the first step in their plan to turn sound waves into light waves.
Sound ba 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 ba. Sounds quite tinny.
They need a drum that will turn a voice into a wiggling light beam.
Ba ba ba.
That's
ba
nice.
ba ba. We should be able to test these. Have you got a piece of paper there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you hold up one of those,
Right.
What do you want us to
if
do
you
with
just hold that up in front of you,
Okay.
we should be able to see how much this
So
thing
you're
is
going to
moving.
bounce the light
Going to
off
bounce the
there.
light off.
Yeah.
And
So
see
that's-
a bit of a line there.
That's a nice sort of...
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah,
See?
you can see it move.
1, 2, 3. So it goes all fuzzy, doesn't it?
So if this piece of paper was actually your little transistor, and then which was wired to an amplifier, you'd be able to hear it out of that amplifier, out
Absolutely,
of that
that's
loudspeaker.
it.
Ellen's back from the wilderness with her inkweed. The next stage is boiling it up to extract its coloured dyes.
It's not as dark as I thought it would be.
Well, I've still got to reduce it down even further.
Yeah,
So
but
as the
it's a-
water boils off, it might go darker. But it will go darker. This is darker than it was.
That's greeny brown. I was expecting something like pitch black.
It's going to get
Well,
better
they may
as
be
well.
able to conquer gravity, but so far they can't make the ink to prove it. The ink may not be working, but Ian knows exactly what he's after, a mineral called gypsum. It's the raw material for his plaster of Paris plaque. Well, Ian is a geologist, so gypsum shouldn't be too hard for him to find. So is this landscape your idea of total heaven?
Yeah, this is limestone country.
Limestone is apparently what we're looking for, because gypsum often occurs in this type of rock.
Gypsum looks very light in colour, whitish or something, and against these greyish and brownish limestones, it should just spring out. If we find that, that'll be great. Whoa, 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 whoa! I think, hold on a minute, let's see what we got here. I think we might have it. This looks like it. You see here, crystals growing down.
How did you spot that from the car?
Well, you can see it. It's just, this is why this kind of cut in, because this is a softer rock from this.
Yeah.
It's just eroding through here.
We've got to chip out about 10 kilos of gypsum. Once it's heated up and ground to a powder, it should make enough plaster of Paris for a decent-sized plaque. Ian may say it's a soft rock, but it feels pretty hard to me. I think we're going to be in for a very late dinner. Day 2. Mike's got a couple of pen designs, but is still waiting on Ellen's ink to try them out. Kathy and Jonathan's light communication device sounds amazing, but at the moment, it's just a great theory. At least Ian's got a bag full of gypsum to turn into a plaster of Paris plaque. Our gypsum. How's it going?
I'm not sure.
What do you mean you're not sure?
I'm looking worried, am I?
You are looking worried.
Well, it's just a bit hard. And
Well, I know that. We knew that yesterday. It was a nightmare getting out of that cliff.
I know, and it shouldn't really be. And the reason why I'm a little bit worried is that although these crystals here are kind of soft, right? You can bite them and chew them.
You can.
Well, easier said than done. But the point with gypsum is you should be able to score it with your fingernail. And
yeah,
I mean, even with these nails, I just can't.
Well, I was going to say, you haven't got any nails. Let me try mine.
Yeah, well, I hope you can.
No. Gypsum is calcium sulfate, but Ian thinks that this rock is calcium carbonate, which is no good for us at all.
There's one real dead cert test for calcium carbonate, and that's if you drop it into hydrochloric acid, and what we got here is hydrochloric acid. If this fizzes, this is bad, all right?
OK, we don't want any fizz. It's fizzing. Oh, my word, it looks like an indigestion tablet.
Yeah.
So this is not going to make plaster of Paris.
This isn't good.
Because it's a calcium carbonate, not a calcium sulfate.
Yeah.
So Ian hasn't found gypsum, but chemically it is very similar. It was going so well. Everything was going so well. Everything was going smoothly. What happens? The geologist mucks the whole thing up. The geologist may have failed, but we could still be in with a chance. Can Mike the Magician save the day? Disaster.
What's happened?
We don't have gypsum. Look, those rock crystals, put in here, put it with hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening.
That's calcium carbonate, isn't it?
So...
Well, it seems to me I've got one option is to go and try and find some more gypsum.
Which isn't an option, actually, because we haven't got time.
If you use battery acid, that will convert the calcium carbonate to calcium sulfate, which is gypsum.
How come, sorry?
Because battery acid sulfuric acid.
So that puts the sulphur in. Well, it's worth a go. I mean, I can use we get tons of rock.
Yeah. Around the deserted mine, there's a number of abandoned cars. So Ian's raiding them to drain their batteries of sulfuric acid. The plan is to add this acid to the rock, which should turn it into gypsum. Meanwhile, Kathy and Jonathan have gone underground. They've turned the abandoned mine shaft into a rough science lab. They're using a low-powered light, which they can target more easily in the dark. So, can a light beam really carry my voice?
You're going to speak in here.
Yeah.
So the sound is going to make this thing wiggle, which reflects back to there, and then is detected in Jonathan's
transistor.
You can see the light, okay?
Oh, yes.
Just by...
Brilliant. So that's our sunbeam, effectively.
That's it.
Loudly, softly.
Loud.
That's fine.
1, 2, 3. It works! I can hear it coming out of the speaker.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So far, so good. But if light beams are ever going to carry sound across the kind of distances found in space, they'll need to use the sun as their light source. Mike spoiled the inkweed to concentrate the colour, and it's time for the first test. Look at this. Inkweed ink.
Yep.
It's definitely got darker after all that boiling, hasn't it? But how does it work as ink? That's the burning question.
I've put some in this scaled-down version
Oh, look, you
of
made
the
a little
capillary
one.
pen.
Right, so it works exactly the same way.
Same principle,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just scaled down in size.
First test. There's something coming out.
Not very strong ink, though, is it?
It's not really, is it? It's a bit weedy, Mike. Still looks like spinach water. I don't actually want to say what it looks like.
Smells as well.
Ian's fate is in the hands of Mike's chemistry expertise. He has to turn his rock into gypsum, or there's no plaque.
We've got the calcium from the rock crystals, the sulfate from the sulfuric acid, and I think that is calcium sulfate, which is gypsum.
Fantastic.
If I bulk this up a little bit, and given the time now, I think the best thing is to set it up and just leave it overnight. Come back tomorrow. I know it's day 3. Come back tomorrow and see if we've got gypsum, and then press on with that.
Kathy and Jonathan have moved their light communication device outside. They're going to try and use sunlight to carry a voice for the first time.
There. Keep it down by your
Well,
t-shirt.
I can see it's right in my face.
Yeah, I know, but I can't. I'm the one who's directing it.
Are you all set for the sun test?
Yeah, this is the test. It's the first time we're trying this out.
Okay.
And I'm using the smallest tube because that's the one that gives the biggest vibration of the tinfoil membrane. And let's give it a go.
Okay, so the reflection has to go onto this sensor.
Okay.
And speak
about
into it.
there. Hey there, Jonathan. How's that sounding?
Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic.
Very clear.
It's coming through, isn't it? Yes. Yes. Good.
So it's working. You're happy?
Well, we can go a whole metre. That's fantastic. We can probably go a bit further.
Can you? Because if you just stand up and look down the length of our workshop, what we would like you to do is to be able to send a message from one end down the whole length to the other.
Kate, that's a really long way.
It is quite a long way, but that's what we want you to do.
It's going to be really hard.
Yep.
Refinement, I think.
Mike's early successes have given way to frustration. His ballpoint pen isn't working, so he's concentrating on the capillary pen. Ellen's gone back into the wilderness to try and find something that will make ink we can actually see. Writing a message of any sort, let alone upside down, seems like mission impossible.
Because they're a lot easier.
Kathy and Jonathan are also frustrated. They can't get their wiggling light beam to carry sound more than a metre.
Madness.
The foil just isn't reflective enough. So Kathy's gone scavenging in the derelict houses around the mine, hoping to find something that will solve their problem.
Yes! I found some bits of mirror, and I've got a bit of inner tube, and I stretched the inner tube over all the other tubes and stuck some mirror on.
Okay.
And that's going to reflect much better, I think, than the tin foil did. That little bit is a little bit pathetic. So I've got a bigger surface here, and I'll choose the biggest bit of mirror I possibly can.
Okay.
And stick it on here. And I hope that that is going to reflect much better than the tin foil.
And you'll be able to communicate a message miles.
Metres. 100 metres.
Jonathan's working to improve the sensitivity of the receiver. He's using a magnifying glass to focus and intensify the light onto the transistor. It's the end of day 2. Ian's working hard to rescue his gypsum. We may have a pen, but since the ink is pretty well transparent, it's hard to tell. And the light communication device works beautifully, but only over a metre. Houston, I think we've got a problem. Day 3. And Ellen thinks she's found a tiny solution to Mike's big ink problem. What are you twiddling with?
These are cochineal insects, and when they're crushed, they make a bright crimson dye, or an ink for us. It's a perfect ink for the pen.
But surely just one insect isn't going to do it.
No, I collected a whole lot when I was up on the mountain.
Right.
But I only brought one cactus pad back to show you where they came from.
So they actually live on the cactus, do they?
They do.
Amazing. So you're going to crush these up and hopefully...
Not hopefully.
Definitely bright red ink. So this is exactly the same as the cochineal that people used for food colouring.
Exactly.
It's
been used for hundreds of years.
Brilliant. These tiny red insects just might be the answer for their zero-gravity pen. Ian's worked overnight with the rocks and battery acid, and he thinks he's got gypsum. So now he's heating it up to try and turn it into plaster of Paris. Please tell me it's good news. Please tell me it's good news.
We're nearly at the powder. You can see this is just...
So this is going to be powdered plaster of Paris.
Yep.
It is. It's going to be the 3 Ps.
Give me 3 minutes with it. Just burn off some more of this water and that'll be it.
That's going to be a pretty small plaque. I know I'm being picky. I know you've had a rough time.
You said nothing about the size of this plaque. No, seriously, I've got some more stuff on the go. I'm going to make big style.
You're amazing. You're brilliant. Keep stirring. Keep stirring.
This is such a lovely red.
Good,
Purple.
because this is such a mess.
At last, Ellen's delivered some impressive dark red ink. Mike is fine-tuning the capillary pen, hoping that it's going to work upside down.
It's looking good. Well done, you.
That was my big surprise.
Ian's finally got his plaster of Paris. And he's promised to at last reveal the grand design for his plaque.
Oh, look. Ta-da!
That's just a barrel of sand.
Now, how are you about impressions?
What do you mean?
Dink, dink.
What, you want me to put my face?
Come on. This has
there?
got to be the epitome of human intelligence, civilization getting set up there. What better thing to do? I'll help you if you want.
No, I don't need any help. Just
Hold
stick
your
my
breath.
face in.
Okay, let's see what we got. Yes! That's very good.
Ian's going to pour his attempt at plaster of Paris into the mould of my face. What the aliens will make of it, we can only guess. Kathy and Jonathan are putting the finishing touches to their light communication device. They want to stabilise the whole system to keep the receiver and transmitter in line with each other. So they've knocked together a couple of tripods.
Yes!
And mirrors will help Kathy direct the sun accurately onto Jonathan's receiver. It's time for the final challenge. Can our rough scientists send a message that would travel through space? Will the pen defy gravity? And has Ian got a plaque to show the aliens? Now, Ian, your challenge was to make a plaque to send up into space.
And here is the epitome of beauty and intelligence going into the solar system. Hey! Who is it? That is Kate.
Aren't I gorgeous?
She closed
I've got
her
a
eyes.
really squashy nose, which I'm slightly disappointed about.
Yeah, and
I think a little remoulding.
a double chin as well. Who saw that?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out,
pleasure.
Ian.
Pleasure.
But well done.
Wow, well
It was a mission, I know. Now then, Kathy and Jonathan, the light communication device. This is the message, Kathy, that we would like you to transmit to Jonathan. I will give you a big thumbs up. You broadcast that message twice.
Only twice.
Only twice. When you've done it,
Listen
I'll
well.
give you the thumbs up again and come herring back to us, because what's going to be happening is Mike B and Ellen are going to be testing out the pen. Will this pen work in space? What you're going to do, Mike, is lie on the ground, on your back, writing down the message that you hear coming through the light communication device. Are you happy with everything?
We've made one improvement. We've mixed the pure inkweed with the cochineal. The color's fabulous.
Fantastic. So, if you can all go and get into position, give me that.
You go take yourself.
Yep. Are you happy, Jonathan?
She's not aligned yet. There's no light
lining
coming
up.
back.
Okay, now I've got it aimed onto the reflector
Yeah, that's better. It's coming in.
and I can see it on the magnifying glass. That's gorgeous.
See it really clearly on
That's
here.
looking really good.
Yeah.
Right, that should be working deliciously now.
Okay, it's ready.
Are you happy?
Yep.
The writing team ready?
Yes.
This is the first time you've done it over this distance. I'm
That's
right,
right.
aren't I?
It's a good
okay.
distance.
So a big moment. Okay.
Rough science mission accomplished.
Yeah.
That colour is gorgeous. Well, I think we can pronounce the pen a success.
Can we?
It's very much readable.
Yes!
Fantastic! That is amazing! Brilliant! Well, that's it for this week, but join us for more Rough Science. Next time, Mike puts a new spin on the space race. Ian's boiling up some rocks, and Jonathan and Kathy are pumping iron, while Ellen keeps her cool in Death Valley. For information about a teacher's resource pack and details of all Open University programmes, call 0870 900 0314 or log on to www.open2.net.
There's an easy way to get ahead overnight.
A beer, please.
With BBC Learning Zone. Each night covers a single subject. So recording and learning is simple. BBC Learning Zone, every night throughout the week on BBC Two. Just remember to switch on before you switch off.
For a copy of the current BBC Learning Zone programme guide, send an A4 stamped address envelope with stamps to the value of 35p to BBC Learning Zone, Current TV, 11 Lakeside, Neptune Close, Rochester, Kent, ME2 4LT. Rough Science continues now on BBC Learning Zone, taking your temperature.
Death Valley in the United States. It's one of the hottest and most hostile places on Earth. Here, our team of 5 scientists face their ultimate test, a series of challenges all about space exploration. NASA used this harsh desert terrain to test their latest kit, so it's the perfect place to see if our team can take on the might of NASA in their own backyard. It's Rough Science on the final frontier. Our 5 scientists are Kathy Sykes, an irrepressible physicist who thrives in the face of adversity. Ian Stewart's our first Rough Science geologist and an eternal optimist. Ellen Macaulay is an intrepid botanist from Missouri with a never-say-die attitude. Mike Bullivant's our creative chemist who makes magic with everyday items. Jonathan Hare is a physicist, inventor, artist, a true Renaissance man. And then there's me, Kate Humble, here to lend a hand. Together, we are Rough Science. Mission Control is an abandoned silver mine on the edge of Death Valley. Here the scientists have basic kit and simple tools. Ingenuity, they supply themselves. Now, as you all know, it can be pretty chilly out in space, but if you're standing on the bright side of the moon, temperatures can be high enough to boil the blood in your body, not unlike hanging around here, which is one of the hottest places on Earth. So, your challenge this week, Mike, Kathy and Ian, is to make some sort of coolant for a Rough Science spacesuit. Okay?
Spacesuit.
A spacesuit.
Coolant.
Yeah. And then, Ellen and Jonathan, you've got to come up with some sort of system to circulate that coolant around the suit. Okay? You're all looking at me as you're absolutely horrified.
We are.
Madder.
You've got 3 days, as usual. At the end of the 3 days, we're going to hop over the mountains to Death Valley, where, you'll be pleased to know, temperatures regularly top 50 degrees, which is over 120 in old money. So it's hot. And we need to stay cool. You've got all the stuff around here, as usual, that you can use, anything that you can find lying around, and you have the magic trunk.
Wow. Get some washing powder.
The trunk has some surprise items that may or may not be useful for this week's challenges. NASA spacesuits are made from the very latest high-tech materials. Our scientists have to make do with 2 sets of overalls. Even by Rough Science standards, this is a tough challenge. A nicely chilled spacesuit in just 3 days. What are the sort of component parts? What have you all got to come up with that's going to make this work?
We need something to make something like a liquid, something like water maybe, really, really cold to begin with. So some kind of refrigeration device.
Yeah.
And then you've got to get that away from the fridge,
Yeah.
pump it round the body.
That sounds simple.
Yeah, I don't know what you're all complaining
About
about.
that.
You know, come on, you can knock that off in an afternoon, you guys. And there is one other crucial thing that we need to crack right now, and that is who is going to be our astronaut. I have the suit. I think you should all stand up.
Let's see who wears the trousers in this program.
Well, that's the cool enough.
What do we think? What do we think?
I think it's too long.
Too big.
Yeah. Too big.
It's not my colour.
No, absolutely, don't pull on you.
Ellen, what have you got?
Ellen? It's definitely going to be too big for Kathy.
Look at that, perfect.
Yeah! No, that's perfect.
Well done, Ellen. I get to eat 3 lunches every day.
You do? Well, I think that's it. The nomination is complete. Let's go and get cracking.
So, on day 3, it's Ellen who will have the honour of donning the rough science spacesuit in Death Valley, where she'll have to survive a moonwalk in one of the hottest places on Earth. She's going to need some serious cooling. Fortunately, Kathy has got a plan, something to do with a spray can full of water.
Keep going.
How does that feel, Kate?
Fantastic. It's so cool.
Well, that is the whole principle that we're going to use, or try to use, for our cooling system. We've got water on your skin. It evaporates off, so it goes from water to a gas. And to change state, it needs heat energy. So your arm cools down as it provides the heat energy for this to change state.
So this is exactly the principle of sweating.
Exactly.
When you sweat, the sweat that your skin produces then evaporates off and cools you down.
That's it. And we're going to try to use that mechanism to cool down a fridge.
The principle is simple. Evaporation leads to cooling. How she's going to use it to make a fridge isn't quite clear yet. But assuming the fridge works, Ellen and Jonathan have to find a way of using it to cool Ellen's spacesuit.
We're going to fill up a system like this, full of water. So it's a closed system. We're going to have the water flow into the fridge, cool off, and then come back around, cool me off.
Brilliant.
And then go back in to be cooled off again by the fridge. So it's constantly pumping around.
And the key to it is being able to pump it, of course.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise it's just going to be there cold and not...
And they're hot.
Yeah. So I think what we can do is, hopefully this will all be full of water, and then if we have a motion like that with a little gizmo machine, it will basically push the water around and pump it round.
It sounds easy, but their pump will have to circulate cold water from the fridge to the spacesuit and back in a never-ending cycle. Kathy's getting to work on her fridge. She can't use electricity because it has to work in Death Valley, and it's got to be portable too. So what's her secret?
This is the beginning of the fridge here, okay? It may not...
This cooking pot.
may not look like a fridge, it's going to be a fridge.
Okay.
And there's going to be water inside here.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is force the water to evaporate. The only way I can do that is to put the water under kind of vacuum conditions.
Right.
So I need to reduce the pressure, and as I take the pressure lower and lower and lower, the water will start to evaporate.
Okay, so basically that evaporation process, exactly the way that sweat evaporates off your skin, cools you down.
That's it.
Is cooling the pot like fridge.
Yeah.
But there is one problem. The fridge won't work unless she can keep the water evaporating, and apparently that isn't going to be as easy as it sounds.
We're dealing with a vacuum, we need an airtight system.
Yeah.
But the problem we've got is removing the water vapour as it's formed.
Because that's going to heat everything up again.
Yeah, and it will stop any more water from evaporating. It will ruin the vacuum.
Right.
Once there's water in the air.
If we can remove it, then we're quids in.
If they can find a way of removing the water vapour, then Kathy's fridge should work. And Mike's had an idea, inspired by the washing powder he found in the trunk.
There's a wonder chemical in detergents that will mop up the water.
So it'll act like a sponge?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, it's a chemical called zeolite.
Zeolite?
Zeolite.
Okay, so how much? Just about a spoonful?
Yeah, let's try.
So there's more to washing powder than meets the eye. If Mike can extract zeolite from it, this will absorb the water vapour and save Kathy's fridge.
Shake it up again, and gradually all of the soluble stuff will just be removed with the water, and all we'll be left with is the zeolite.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be a long process.
It's going to be tedious. We're going to be up all night, mate.
Ian's not convinced that there's enough zeolite in the washing powder, and he's getting a bit bored shaking up plastic bottles.
I've had an idea, and because zeolite isn't just synthetic, it's not just artificial, you get it in nature.
Right.
And you particularly get it in volcanic rocks.
Yeah.
So I reckon that these volcanic landscapes that we've got around us will have those volcanic rocks with zeolite in them. So I want to go off and try and hunt down some natural zeolite.
So now Ian and Mike both think they can find zeolite and save Kathy's fridge. Let's hope one of them really can. That leaves Kathy free to see whether she can start creating a vacuum.
Balloons? What are they doing in there?
Look at the sizes.
Yeah.
If we create a vacuum,
Yeah.
they ought to get bigger because the pressure inside the balloon stays the same.
Right.
The pressure outside gets lower,
Yeah.
so they expand.
They expand. Okay.
That's what they should do. So just squeeze them up there. Yeah. And now we have a very, very basic pump. You may have seen one of these before.
Yes, to seal up wine bottles, to sort of create a vacuum in wine bottles to keep wine fresh.
That's it. Okay, we're going to try to create a bit of a vacuum in here.
Do you think we really can?
Get pulling.
Oh my word, I knew there'd be a downside. Okay.
If the balloons expand, it means the pressure is dropping. If it drops enough, they might even burst.
Kate, look!
Is it working?
Look!
Wait, everybody come and look at this! Come and look! Before I expire!
Look, check that pressure gauge. Can you see?
Oh, yeah,
wow. It's going up.
Come on, burst!
I've seen you do some silly things.
So the vacuum pump works. Now what Kathy needs most of all is that zeolite to soak up the water vapour. Ian and I are off in search of this magic mineral.
Zeolite, is this some kind of byproduct of lava or
What
how
it
does
is,
it form?
Yeah, what it is, it's the volcanic material, either lava flows or ash,
Yeah.
and the interaction with water just turns the whole thing into a clay-like, soft, powdery thing.
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping we get, because if we get that, that's meters thick.
Ian's highly trained geological eye has spotted the remains of a lava flow.
Ooh, it looks a bit dirty.
How's it looking?
It's good, it's good.
Yeah?
This is all lava flow here, this is all volcanic. And we've got a whitish layer just sitting underneath, which has all been chemically altered. It's very porous and it's white. Thing is though, zeolite can get mixed up with other things though, like particularly clay. I think this could be zeolite.
But back at base, Mike hasn't given up on his washing powder. He's come up with an ingenious new method to extract the zeolite.
The problem that I have got is separating out these fine particles of zeolite from the detergent. So we've shaken the detergent up in water. All of the soluble materials dissolve in the water, obviously, and the only thing that doesn't dissolve is the zeolite. But it's very fine particles. We can't filter it, because if you pass it through a filter, it just clog up the filter, the fibres in the filter. So this is a centrifuge. Ian scuttled off into the desert and left me responsible for it. In here is the water with all of the soluble materials removed, but it's got suspended in it zeolite. And I'm hoping that by rotating this, like a centrifuge that you find in a laboratory, the zeolite, because they're heavier than the water, will all be forced out into the bottom of the tube here. The danger is this goes around so fast that these things come flying off. So it's a prototype, all right? And you're just about to witness its first flight. So stand well back, hide behind the sofas at home, and let's see what happens when I turn it on. I'm just getting sprayed with soapy water. The first rotary washing machine. But it looks good, doesn't it? It might even take off.
It may look good, but so far all Mike's got is a wet shirt, and that's not going to save Kathy's fridge. He needs to fix those leaks. Ian could be about to steal Mike's thunder. Has he really found zeolite? There's a rather unusual test to find out.
Right, I've got it.
Okay, so
finely powdered.
Yeah.
Hopefully zeolite. So if this is zeolite, what's going to happen is, as we heat it, and what we'll see is the rock appearing to fizz and bubble.
Should I give it a little shake?
Yeah, go for it. Yes! Excellent, that's exactly what we want. Boiling rocks, excellent stuff. We've found ourselves a bit of zeolite.
Something out of kind of, you know, a wizard's cavern.
This is the kind of alchemy Mike would be proud of.
That's
Fizzing away.
amazing.
Mike, eat your heart out.
Boiling rocks.
Yeah.
Ian's zeolite should save Kathy's fridge from being saturated with water vapour. But perhaps Mike's refurbished centrifuge can contribute some zeolite as well.
But there's the zeolite. The top of the tube. Not a lot to write home about, but give it time.
I think Kathy's going to be relying on Ian. It's the end of day one. Ian has returned in triumph with his zeolite.
That's big enough for a tube. Our tube's really, really small, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan and Ellen have built a rather strange-looking pump powered by a hand drill that they hope will circulate water around their cooling pipes. And Kathy is building her fridge, armed only with a cooking pot, a sheet of perspex and lots of glue. Tomorrow, we'll see if they can somehow put all this together to make a nicely cooled spacesuit. Day 2, and Kathy's enlisted Jonathan's help to make a new improved pump for her fridge. If it works, this should give her the pressure reduction she needs to evaporate water and cool the fridge.
We're going to pump from here, and we've got, instead of the pathetic little wine pump, we've got the new mega big pump.
Which only takes 3 people
Just
to
3
operate.
people. And all I've done here is just taken the same mechanism out of here and put it into here.
Right.
But we've got a much bigger drawer now, so we've got the potential to have a much bigger vacuum, I hope.
Okay.
Okay, guys, pull.
I can feel it's pumping.
Okay, and just keep on pulling, because there's quite a bit of air to evacuate.
It's lowering. What's happened?
It's around here. Look. The thing's buckled.
Well, the pump worked, but all it did was collapse the pot. It obviously needs serious strengthening to withstand the low pressures Kathy's after. Ellen and Jonathan are ready to test out their system for pumping cool water around the spacesuit.
So we connected the whole system up. This is what Ellen's going to wear.
Yeah.
This is going to be in the fridge.
Yeah.
It's all got water in it, so all we need to do is test it out. So we've got a bit of dye in there, so hopefully it should move down. We haven't got an air bubble, have we?
No, but we can see the dye. It's moving down quite quickly.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Is that working?
It's beautiful.
Fantastic. Where's that going to be? Where's the pump going to be? Is it going to be on you?
No, I think we should mount it on top of the box.
It could be on Ellen, but actually she doesn't want to have to worry about this thing. No, we can just mount it on the fridge.
After his success with zeolite, Ian has stepped in to try and save Kathy's fridge from collapsing.
So, we've been making a really nice, see that?
That's brilliant.
It's just braced really with wood.
Yeah.
All the way down.
So you've kind of built it a skeleton effectively to keep it out.
Absolutely. And I think, because we're going to want really, look, quite a good vacuum in there.
Yeah.